What is a wraparound mortgage in real estate? Well, let me ask you, have you ever put your money in a bank before? Oh, sure you have. You've put your money in a savings account and the bank has paid you interest. They paid you a little bit of a reward for allowing them to borrow your money. And what do they do with your money? Let's say they paid you 4% interest. Do they just sit on that money and do nothing? No. They take your money and they re-lend it out at a higher interest rate. Maybe they're re-lending it to me or you for our business, and they're gonna have us pay them 8%. So 8% minus 4%, that's a 4% spread. We call that a spread in the industry. It's the difference between what you're borrowing money at and what you're re-lending it at. That's how banks make money. And that is how wraparound mortgages work. A wraparound mortgage is when you have a property that has a loan or a mortgage on it. This could be any type of loan. It could be a traditional loan. Maybe you went out and got an FHA or a conventional loan and you bought a property. Or maybe it's a seller finance loan. You bought this property directly from a seller with seller financing. Some of you call it owner financing. Or it's a sub 2 loan. You took over someone else's loan. It could be any type of debt on a property. And what happens next? You don't keep the property as a rental. You don't keep it as a short-term rental, long-term rental, mid-term rental. No. You're not keeping it as a rental. You're actually reselling the home. So you're flipping the home, right? No, you are reselling it with seller financing. Wraps in real estate, wraparound mortgages, is when you buy a house that has a loan on it and you resell it with seller financing. The difference between the interest rate on the old loan and the interest rate on the new seller financing, that is your spread, just like the bank. But the most exciting part is, just like the bank, you don't make the money just on your equity. You make the money on the entire value of the property, not just the equity, the entire value of the property. Are you a bit confused? Let me explain. Think of wraps in real estate as, I don't know, flipping loans. Yeah, you're flipping loans. Just like how you have people who go in, buy a property, fix it up, resell it. You're going in, you're buying an old mortgage, making it a little bit better, and reselling it with a better mortgage. That's all you're doing. You're just flipping loans. So let me show you. Okay, so let's say we're on Zillow. Right now, we're on Zillow and we see a house that's for sale. Here's our house. And this house is for sale. And we see that it has a loan on it. This guy took out an FHA loan. The seller of the house took out an FHA loan back in the day for, I don't know, $400,000. Okay. It's a $400,000 loan. And it has a really nice interest rate of just 3%. That's awesome, right? And now he wants, I don't know, let's just say he wants $500,000 for his house. So, you know, we take over his loan subject to, we give him $100,000 cash, right? We give him $100,000 cash. And now we have a $400,000 loan at 3%. Now, we could keep this as a rental, but let's say we want passive income. We don't want to be dealing with tenants and toilets. We're beyond that in our life. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to buy this house. We give the guy 100 grand. We buy this house and we resell it with seller financing. So now we're going to seller finance it. If you can read this, you are very, very literate, because I can't read my own writing. We're going to seller finance this at 8%. What? 8%? Well, yeah, interest rates right now are like 7, 8%. So why wouldn't we seller finance this at 8%? You can actually get more interest than market interest. I'll talk about that in 1 second. I'll talk about how much you can price your interest at. But let's say we interest this, let's say we sell this at 8%. Now there is a 5% spread. The spread between these two loans is 5%. And we are going to make that spread. Now, I hope you're asking the right question. What are we making the spread on? Are we making it on the $400,000 original loan? Wait, the $500,000 purchase price? No. You're making the spread. Actually, it gets better. It gets a little bit confusing. Wrap math gets a little bit confusing. I'll make a dedicated video on it. You're making the spread, remember what I said? On the entire thing. So what do we want to sell this property at? Well, let's say that we are able to sell it for 600,000. I don't know how we're able to do that, but let's say we're able to sell it for 600,000. Some time has elapsed. We fix up the property. We found a really good buyer who has a lot of money. That means we're making the spread on the entire 600,000. So not just the equity that we've accumulated. No, the entire 600,000. So we make a 5% spread on the 400,000, and we make an 8% spread on the additional 200,000, because the other $200,000 doesn't have a loan on it, right? That's just equity. So you make the whole amount on the equity and then you make the spread on the original loan. Are y'all a little bit confused? It's okay. Wraps are very difficult to understand. You don't need to understand a wrap the first time you watch a video or the second time or the third time. I'm going to make a lot more videos on wraps. I'm going to teach you how to do all the math on wraps because it's a lot more complicated than just figuring out what the difference is in interest and calculating it because we have amortization schedules in real estate. Gets really confusing. Just wait on a video on that. But what I want to pretty much stress is that you buy a house with a low interest rate. Let's take my house, for example. I own a property that I got a cheap interest rate on. I just bought it conventionally. I didn't do any crazy sub two seller finance. And if I wanted to resell that property right now, I could sell it cash, make a few hundred grand. Sick. Or I can make some passive income, get taxed a lot less, right? I can defer those taxes over time and I can sell the house, usually at a little bit more money. You can usually get a little bit more of a purchase price because you are financing the property and you can sell it at a higher interest rate than market interest rates because your buyers are usually people who don't qualify for typical financing. They're people who got rejected from the banks. They don't qualify because, I don't know, maybe they have a cash business. Banks don't like cash. Or maybe they got through a divorce and their credit's ruined. Or a multitude of factors. Maybe they're a serial killer. Okay, well, hopefully not. Hopefully not. Probably don't sell your house to a serial killer. But they were rejected from the banks. And now they're coming to you and you're like, hey, man, I know you have a property. Could I just buy the property directly from you and finance directly from you? For sure, bro. Just give me monthly payments for, I don't know, 360 months with a 8, 9, 10% interest rate and the house is yours. But, I need a 20% down payment. You're the bank. That's how seller financing works. If you're a little bit confused about wraps, it's probably because you're a little bit confused about seller financing. So make sure you understand seller financing first, and then you can understand wraps because all a wrap is an old loan and then you're reselling it with seller financing. And the difference between the two is how you make money. But the beauty of wraps is that it is passive. So what I mean is you sold the house. You're not dealing with tenants and toilets. If something goes wrong, you're the bank. The seller's not calling you up and being like, hey man, my toilet's not working. That's a you problem. You own the house, bro. You have the title and you have the deed. You're just paying me interest. And the other great part is the new buyer, he's paying the taxes. He's paying the insurance. He's paying the HOAs. He's paying the utilities. He's paying all the maintenance, all the capital expenditures, vacancies, whatever the hell's going on in there. He's paying. You're not. You're sitting there collecting your checks every single month. So it is such a unique way to be involved in real estate where you're pretty much just making money like a bank. You're just getting paid every single month, but you're not having to deal with the property. So how do you get involved with wraps? Well, step one is you need to own a house. And you need to own a house with a low interest rate. And that's where subject to and seller financing come in. You try to negotiate a deal on a property where you can take over someone's loan at a low interest rate, or you can finance directly from the seller at a low interest rate. And then your goal is to resell the property at more money, something super important, super important. When it comes to wraps, make sure that you have equity built in. You need something we call instant equity. I can't write right now because I'm too worked up. I'm sure you can't read that. Instant equity. So if you find a property on the market, and let's say it's a $300,000 property, and you want to purchase it sub two, let's say they have no equity, right? I know it's getting confusing because I just said instant equity, but this seller has no equity, right? And he has a nice 3% loan. We're using 3% because it's easy. So you're like, hey, bro, I'll give you the full $300,000. Just let me take over your loan. And here's a Starbucks coffee so it helps you move out of your house. That's it, right? You're not giving him any money. You're just giving him some coffee so he moves out faster. Okay. Well, let's say the house is only worth 270, but you wanted to wrap it. Well, the thing is you need to sell the house. And when you wrap, you sell. You need to sell the house at more than your purchase price. So if you are buying a wrap, where a lot of people get in trouble is they overpay for properties. You cannot overpay for a property if you're wrapping it because you can't sell the house at 280, let's say, and you bought it for 300 and you're like, it's okay. I'll make the money up over time. What if these people pay off their whole loan in full? What if they refinance? You're screwed. You are screwed. I'll make more videos on that later, but you are screwed. So when you are wrapping, make sure that you buy a property under market value with a low interest rate. How is that possible? That's usually why people don't wrap immediately. Oftentimes you'll see investors, they get a property, they hold it as a rental for a few years, the market appreciates, and they're like, all right, it's time to sell. Ah, shoot, man, I don't want to sell my property right now. I'm going to get hit with a lot of capital gains. What should I do? What should I do? Oh, I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to sell it with seller financing. But I want to keep this original loan in place because it's such a cheap loan. I don't want to pay off this loan. Why would you ever pay off debt under 5% right now? You wouldn't. So you keep that loan in place, you seller finance it out, you get a lot less tax consequences, you sell your property at the highs, and now you're making passive income. So a lot of times you see wraps in a few case scenarios. You see them when maybe it doesn't work too well as a rental and you're like, yeah, I'll just wrap it, but make sure there's equity in there. Or people hold their properties for a few years and like, nah, it's time for me to wrap it. Time for me to get rid of it. I just want the income. So that's how a wrap works. Wraps are so cool. They work better in some states than others. They work really well in states where there's high holding costs. Like Texas, we have extremely expensive taxes. You pass those taxes on to the sellers. And there's a lot of pros to owning wraps, but there's a lot of cons too. So you know what? If you want me to make a video on the pros and cons to wraps, I'll do it. But in this video, I just wanted to sort of smush the idea into your guys' brain. It's hard to get your head around the power of wraps and how a wrap works. The math is very confusing, but I'll teach it to you. The math is confusing, but the concept is fairly simple. You find a cheap loan, you resell it to someone who can't qualify at a higher interest rate, you make the spread. That part's easy. Actually, calculating it's a little tough. We'll get there. We call it dueño a dueño. That's how you say it in Spanish. Most of your wrap buyers are Hispanic people. So if you have a wrap, dueño a dueño, you may see that word, and get ready because you are going to start making some passive income. I hope you guys liked this video. Like and subscribe. That's what you're supposed to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. See you guys. Bye.